guys, it's Camilla from Chicken Scratch and Sniff. Today we're finally going to talk about more ideas for Gordon B. Hinckley Chapter 13, which is all about self-reliance, okay? So, the first one involves drawing on the board. Now remember, these are just ideas to help you think of more ideas. It's okay if you don't like the presentation, but maybe it gives you more. Visual things I think are so important because we all learn in so many different ways, and if we can see something, sometimes that sticks a little bit longer. So, we're going to use a whiteboard for this one. In the manual, just in the introduction part, President Hinckley says, "We learned a great truth, that you could pretty well determine the kind of fruit you would pick in September by the way you pruned in February." So we're going to talk about, use that tree and pruning analogy, okay? And it also reminds me of the faith analogy, like a mustard seed would grow into a giant tree, and so we're going with that. We're going to have faith to follow these principles, and so that's going to be our seed. And then it's going to grow into a tree. And so what's the tree part going to be? It would be the work and the education that we talk about in this manual, okay? So like the main topic, subtopics of the lesson. So we're going to write that in the trunk. Now, my tree's going to be kind of cut off because I'm trying to make sure it all fits in the screen, okay? So, here we go. So I have work written in there and education written in there. And then what you're going to do is you're going to talk, you know, as you've read some of the quotes and as you've talked about some of the things, you're going to go through and talk about what are the fruits of those things, of working, of getting an education, of preparing a food storage, those types of things. And as you talk about more, you can add more words into the trunk, and then you can put fruit up into the trees. And you could just tape it on as people mention, or you make those connections and read those quotes and put them up on the tree, okay? So it's just a visual way, and you can kind of tie it in throughout the whole lesson, which is nice. One of the things that I really like about this lesson, I know some people will automatically think, oh, it's just about work, or oh, it's just about money, or it's just about food storage, but that's not it at all. It's actually just about, okay, so it's about self-reliance, but that really comes down to being spiritually self-reliant. You know, in life, we're giving all these symbols, you know, wherever we walk, we can tie things back to the gospel. You know, the sun is the sun, right? Jesus Christ. And we can make those symbolisms and tie those things together. So really, self-reliance, it's really a lesson on being spiritually self-reliant. And so what does that mean? So, where's my eraser? Well, we'll use a tissue. You can do that on the board as well by just making a chart. And as you go through and talk about some of the main points in the lesson, just write that topic on the board. So work was like the first one, right? And how work is great, and how we should all learn to work, and how we all need to teach our kids to work, that type of thing. So work. And then another one talks about education. So same thing as the tree, kind of, but in a different way, right? And then just draw these arrows and make the spiritual connection, okay? So if we're learning about how to work with our hands and to dig in, and that we need to, you know, weed the garden before it's gonna produce fruit, or if we need to pick up our toys in order to have a clean house, what is that really teaching us? You know, that it takes work to be spiritually self-reliant as well. So what kind of spiritual work are we going to do to build our testimonies? What kind of spiritual things do we need to do in order to have the repentance process? Same with education. We have to be the scriptures, be spiritually educated, things like that, okay? There was another example in there, talks about how debt is bondage, and how you can compare that to sin is bondage. And so you can just make those types of connections on the board and have your class come up with the connections so that it creates more of a discussion. And you can hand out markers and have people do it themselves, or you can write it on the board yourself. The last idea, I have extra handouts that I will attach onto the post today, cknscratch.com, where I have the wheelbarrow. I really like that quote in the manual where, you know, you can have a wheelbarrow, but it's not going to move unless you put your two hands on it and move it, right? So going with the tree analogy still, we're going to fill up our wheelbarrow with fruit. Okay, now I have two types that you can print out. These ones have words on them that I just picked from the manual. Some of you might want to use and some of them you might not, but I also have blank ones that you can use too. So whichever you want to do, you can use the blank ones up on their tree as you're drawing it at the beginning of the board, and then move the tree to the wheelbarrow at the end of the lesson, just whatever you want to do. This one, so just, you know, going with those spiritual blessings as well, is this one says you're going to have peace as you become more self-reliant, and then you would put it in the wheelbarrow. Again, just something visual, okay? And what you can do with these, instead of just you going through them, is you can call people ahead of time and ask them, you know, I know that you have a great food storage, and I really would like to hear what some of the blessings are that you felt from food storage. And then you can put those on these peaches before, and then have that person come up and be like, share a little bit of their stories and put those fruits in the wheelbarrow for you. And then you can, you know, you could ask a few people and beforehand, give them like a week at least so they can think of it, and then you can make those cutouts for them. And then of course you can have more blank ones for the people that comment during your lesson as well that you didn't plan on. Okay, guys, those are my ideas. Just remember that it's not just one thing, it's an absolutely bigger topic to talk about. You guys have a great week. Bye.